Bangalore 2020, the first of its kind digital summit with the theme being Reconnect, Reboot, Reset, Re-energizing Enterprise in the New World. And here we have with us gorgeous Malika Bajaj. She is a digital image consultant, digital entrepreneur, child right protectionist from New Delhi, India. She is the CMO of Apna Doctor, New Delhi. She's the board of directors of very many places and very many organizations, but I will name a few. Little Yellow Beetle Media Private Limited, a 360-degree media and branding solution digital studio. Global Education Nagpur, media communications and digital consultant, IIT Bombay. She's a recipient of very many awards. Without much ado, we would like to hear your views, Malika, on the topic online trolling on the rise. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Sheetal ji, for the very not so humbling introduction. But no, you definitely make me sound busier than I usually am. And I'm hoping everyone is safe. I'd like to obviously take this opportunity to thank the Women Economic Forum, Harbeen ji, for bringing this together amidst such a, I mean, well, people are saying such a hopeless time, but I think it's always looking upwards. So we're very excited, and also for trusting me for something so severe that is, you know, attacking our society per se. So without much further ado, I think I'm going to sort of dive right into by saying, until digital life took over, all communication took place in, you know, defined and hierarchical frameworks, which means that content was supervised and structured. It had an introduction, a conclusion, a middle, and it was all sort of, you know, done by a trained environment where everybody was following rules. There was also, you know, a certain code of conduct and tonality. When with digital, though, being an open framework, it completely lacks its defense. And like the humans who have a lot of, you know, defense lawyers, media lawyers, etc., I want to clarify as a media academic that right in the beginning that the medium is the message or the massage. Well, we're not going to get into that one, but the medium is technically just the message, and that it's not technology that is causing the damage that we're sort of, you know, feeling, or we're feeling attacked, or we're feeling like there's too much technology around us. The truth of the matter, I reckon, is that it's the users, it's us. And for all the behavioral economists joining us, or people who are interested in that space joining us in this chat, will resonate that this behavior of online content production, which is, you know, presenting choices in a certain ways, even unintentionally, can nudge people to change their behavior in predictable ways. It creates a vortex that we very quickly then get sucked into, and we lose control over our thoughts and our time. And while I'm not going to deny that 90% of us here are kind and there is integrity in our intent, we solely communicate to engage and collaborate, that there is a minority 10% that is a major concern area. They're a different breed of people. And while online, you may not be able to spot them at first or second, and, you know, you have to interact with them multiple times. Offline, we've all been trolled. You know, in our personal lives, it's a taboo topic. No one brings it up, particularly in, you know, South Asian countries. And I'm saying this because we're speaking to a global audience right now. South Asian countries where, you know, we still live in joint families. We still have not so many nuclear families, and we're taught a certain way to talk to our elders, respect their views, don't answer back. Very often, you know, we find ourselves stuck in a situation in a private room, or even at a wedding, or like awkward, you know, social communications, wherein we find a lot of people saying nasty things like, you've become so ugly, you've become so tan, you know, you've become so black, who will ever marry you? Why are you getting so tanned? Oh my God, now after my training, I put on weight. They're like, oh my God, you've become so fat. And they would say these things, which are body shaming to begin with, but also, like, I've seen so many women who've done exceptionally well, or people who've done exceptionally well in the society. There'll be, you know, a few odd people who'll step up and say things like, oh, you've got a sugar daddy, oh, where did you sleep to get up so far? You know, so there are people who are there are those very few people who exist who lack self-control, who are more often than not, you know, insecure, unstable, and, you know, we need to be kinder to them, you know, because unfortunately they feel better by insulting people. with online, the fact that we're having this, subject to discuss today also is becoming a bigger reason, because except for the fact that it's not any different, it's becoming a bigger burning concern, because while these people, the minority of these people, still prefer to remain private so that they don't sound bad to the larger masses, they now have options of being anonymous. There are fake profiles, there is anonymity, there are no pictures, there is very little information about themselves, and they end up causing a lot of harm individually to begin with, socially, because your friends are reading this, your families are online, and more so now through our professional circles, which are not just limited to your office and geographical space, but they've become more global. And it begins to affect then, even for someone like myself, I can speak from experience, affect the brands I'm representing, or so on and so forth. And these trollers, while no one knows them, they don't sound bad to their own circle. They enjoy this negativity, the toxicity, it's their drug. But for the purpose of this talk, I want to sort of just put out there, how do you define a troll? Now, it's not someone who is someone stronger or has a different view than my own, or someone imaginary. I get to hear this a lot, particularly now with, people studying, children, kids studying online on, online platforms. And when we're parenting the parents on new media, they will often say things like, their kids have become too sensitive, or they're just introverts, so they feel cornered and up their wall. Sorry, did I lose you? Yeah. So I just want to say, it's not that, your kids are feeling that it's an imaginary situation. That's number one source of denial that we need to get rid of as a society. Trolls exist. They are people who try to disrupt online communities by posting inflammatory or inappropriate or off-topic content. They're primarily public. They're anonymous more often than not. They incite conversations in chat rooms, comment sections for blogs, articles, and any other type of online forum. And trolls thrive on conflict. So their goal is to incite anger by posting controversial opinions and disagreeing with anyone who tries to interact with them. They frequently escalate into targeted threats and online stalking, or even, to a point of online harassment. Now, once we can, put this and sum this up for ourselves, that it's absolutely non-negotiable to understand that these jerks, and you can pardon my language, but we're using an online platform, so it's allowed. But the fact that these jerks exist, they derive joy out of any kind of reaction. So it's not an imaginary situation. No, as a society, we have not become insensitive. It's just becoming more normal for people to voice these opinions as well, because the platform allows it, or the environment that we're breeding this platform in allows it. So bottom line, they exist. Now, addressing them as real is pertinent to this, gruesome environment we're all living in now, more so than ever before pre-pandemic. Now, all of us are online. The, opinions are also polarized, etc. The one thing that we need to understand that is that the trolls, once we understand that they're real, we also need to identify the kind of trolls we're dealing with, and we could possibly not be dealing with them personally. We know people who are dealing with them, or we often see people writing rubbish on posts or comments, or just being stupid about things, or lurking around every corner of the internet. It becomes important to understand why, because there are two types of trollers. The first one are the lurkers. As the name suggests, I'm calling them the lurkers. They're my kind of, trollers, who are just there for fun. They'll attack for laughs and ego boost, or most of them are just harmless and usually unpaid. Now, internet trolls that fall under this category are known for mocking other people, pushing conspiracy theories, and just practicing, some sort of dry humor that satisfies them, not denying the fact that they're also harmful, but they're not as harmful as our next category, which is the paid trolls. Now, paid trolls are the ones that are hired to disrupt communities and dialogue. They're hired by businesses, they're hired by political parties. These internet trolls spread hate. They disrupt communities, they engage in self-promotion, they hack into accounts, they have verified accounts that they're working with, through hackers, and they create confusion. Paid trolls are infamous for pushing, political propagandas as well. And through my research that I was putting out for before, I wanted to sound very smart with all of you. I did gather that a large chunk of the trolling that happens online is either based on political trolling. The second one is obviously news. And the third one is religion. Now, what happens when these people have been identified, because the areas that we're going to now talk into become so much more important because they're a part of our everyday dialogue. We're
Right.
all global citizens, I feel like, now more so than ever before, because all the offices are online, our workspaces are online, our friends are online, our geographical boundaries are locked, but we're still communicating with our friends, etc. It's very, very difficult to even allow ourselves or our children growing up in the future to grow up in an environment where we're completely sabotaging the narrative we're exposing them to. So once you identify trolls, and once you're open to the idea that you're not in denial that this exists, both offline and online, we're often then asked to sort of just wait it out and simmer things, or just ignore them, they'll go away. No, the most important need of the hour, and maybe that's why we're also having this whole panel today with the Women Economic Forum, is that you need to put them out in public. You need to identify them. You need to take help if required professionally, to go through cybersecurity cells and identify these people, defame them in public and make them stop. Because while one of us in the audience may be strong enough to deal with them emotionally and mentally fit to understand where they're coming from, they're so hypnotizing that a large party of them, particularly the younger crowd that's online, they lead to some serious consequences such as anxiousness, depression, self-harm, have even forced, people in the past we've experienced with episodes like the blue whale, or, death
Yeah.
becoming a hot trend, trolling to contemplate or attempt suicide, which leaves families and friends to live with the aftermath. And so we need to put a stop on them, because it's not just something that you and I are having a conversation on. The truth of the matter is that last year about 126,730 children, essentially content creators, influencers between the age of 10 and 18, have committed suicide. And these are accounts we were concerned about. These were blue verified accounts, and they're not even like everyday regular accounts, and this is just in the United States. More locally in India, where our population, 50% of our population is below the age of 25, 68% is below the age of 35. They make up the world's largest ever cohort of like-minded young people, and they see absolutely no reason why the world shouldn't run by their rules. It becomes very, very important to firstly address that online trolling is a serious issue, and the governments and private institutions should step in and start at least addressing the narrative, if not creating laws and bylaws for addressing the same.
Okay.
And obviously, I think I will applaud the WEF again to get this dialogue initiated. And secondly, I think it's very, very important to be mindful of the content we reshare as an audience online. A lot of us lack, I think, the common sense of frivolously sharing forward stories without identifying the source and its motive. Most trolls, like I said, are either politically motivated, or motivated by news, or are paid to talk about religion. And so we just very randomly, like very naively, will just sort of forward it to all our friends, or make it a story and reshare on our Instagram page or our Facebook page, just because it looks cute, or it's, we think we're sounding very intelligent. But we need to put a stop on it, because this is all initiated, and it's a big market, it's a big economy and industry that is running over these trolls, that is changing the way our narrative is moving forward. And so we have to put a stop to that. And then again, I think last but not the least, I think we need to teach our kids about new media and its powers, and we need to teach them privacy rights, teach them how much is too much, and when to put a stop on accepting friends. This is, I think, another very important area that we keep addressing with children, that on Instagram, just to sound famous, they'll keep adding random people even on their private profiles, but the amount of content they're allowing a stranger to get access to, not knowing who those people are, where they're coming from, why are they tapping into your friendship network, I think those lines have now blurred. And so it's becoming more important for us as adults to not only be responsible, call out the trolls, watch our internet space and content and what we're forwarding, but also allow, invest in synergizing global content with affordability and reliability being, the two key aims for scalability going forward.
Okay, that was awesome. That was lovely. That was so much in a nutshell. I would like to ask you a question.
Sure.
Do memes, fall into the category of trolls? Meme makers and
Yeah, I think from a very naive perspective, I enjoy memes. But I think on a more academic space, if you look into the research and you do a lot more understanding of where these memes come from, like I said, there are two kind of lurkers, and then there